Okay, abrupt. All right, it is Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern time. That can mean just one thing. It is time for the goRIA live stream. And today we have a real special guest. We are actually celebrating, and we have with us Christian Nwasike, who is the chairman of the African American Association of Financial Advisors, also known as Quad A. Christian, welcome to the show.
Chuck, great to see you, and it's good to be back on the show. Happy Black History Month.
Yes, indeed. It's great to have you back. And boy, if we could redo the magic that you and I had at the it'd be good stuff. And unfortunately, we only have about 10 minutes for this one, but we'll cram in as much as we can. So Black History Month and Quad A, what a great combination. For those people in the audience that are not familiar with Quad A, why don't you start, if you would please, with what is that all about and how is that working with other advisors?
Sure. Great question. And the Association of African American Financial Advisors, as you stated, known as Quad A, was founded in the early 2000s by a fee-only planner at the time who was an RIA and believed that clients shouldn't worry about I'll say commissions as relates to receiving advice. And he had taken the Certified Financial Planner designation, examination, one of the first Black or African American advisors to actually pass the examinations. Matter of fact, the second Black or African American financial advisor or planner to take the exam and pass is also alive and a member of Quad A. But fast forwarding from that tremendous experience and opportunity, LeCount Davis realized that there were not too many registered investment advisors in the business that looked like him, and he needed a place to network, discuss ideas, and professionally develop. Hence, the formation of the association as a regional, at that time, DMV area kind of networking organization that has since mushroomed into this national organization with members from sea to shining sea. And we cover several lines of business now, not just RIA, but wirehouse, bank brokerage, super regionals, and licensed home office professionals.
That's great. And there's actually quite a bit to unpack just right there. And I remember being surprised. So I'm not surprised this time, but I was surprised the first time you mentioned LeCount and the fact that he was an RIA so early on, right? Which is just amazing. Probably one of the early. And that was just kind of an amazing thing to me back then.
Yeah, Chuck, I think about coming into the business about 20 years ago and imagining, we were moving from stockbroking into managed money. But I think about Mr. Davis and how long he had been in the business working fee-only plans. Yes. It's tremendous. It's an amazing legacy, and is why we celebrate the work that he's done for so long, and the many others that came after him and created a space for diverse voices in the RIA, I would say, industry or sector of wealth management, or line of business, to be more specific.
That's awesome. And I just want to be a little mindful. I think we have a little bit of a lag here, so I'm trying not to step on top of your words because we want to hear them. So let's pivot a little bit to the RIA space through the lens of Quad A. So Christian and I are going to be on a panel together, April 16th, New York City, RIA Connect, which will be the first big RIA summit of the year in New York City with investment news. So if you haven't registered for that, go ahead and do so. A little side note, if you want a 25% discount, just put in Chuck25 and you'll 25% discount. We're talking a lot of DEI on that panel, and there's going to be a full day of content there as well. New York City, April 16th. So let's pivot to the RIA space. And I know we talked about this last time we had the chance to connect, but how are you all seeing the RIA space giving opportunities to further what you're doing at Quad A?
Great question, Chuck. First off, I'd love to have a Christian 25% off discount code for April 16th.
I think we can make that happen.
But in all seriousness, coming back to your question, when we look at our member base, we find about 29% of our members are registered investment advisors and have their own practices. And in spending time with our members, we found that they enjoy being a registered investment advisor because they can hang their own shingles, so to speak. And what do I mean by hanging their own shingles? They can create work environments that mirror their cultural perspectives, and it gives them the opportunity to interface with clients that don't necessarily have to meet wirehouse and bank brokerage minimums. Now, we welcome that in our community because we understand that the average Black household has a certain dollar amount that in many cases doesn't hit the minimums that many of our partners that are in the wirehouse or bank brokerage firms require. And so the registered investment advisor at Quad has what we call subscription-based financial planning attributes that really allow us to get to the belly of America and work with the families that the middle-class families that truly need financial planning as that vehicle to get them out of, I would say, financial obscurity into a world of financial independence.
That is so important. And so not only is Quad A then really helping further advisors within that community as advisors, lifting up other very much underserved communities that perhaps would not get access to the type of advice that you all are giving in that way. And I think that's spectacular, especially adopting more friendly, if you will, fee structures like subscription, right? And I think that's just brilliant. Can you share one or two success stories last time we met? And those are always very inspirational.
I talk about one of the success stories that's top of mind to me is an advisor out here in Chicago, where I live, and James Brewer, who we recently had a great conversation over virtually, talking about how he built his practice. Now, many people don't know that the Association of African American Financial Advisors is also a conduit connecting Black families or diverse families with Black or diverse financial advisors. And James was talking about how he built his successful practice in Chicago with 50% of those clients coming from the Association of African American Financial Advisors. I just wanted to kind of pause there for a moment. And so when we think about the work that we do, James, and think about James as an RIA in Chicago, James Brewer, I'm very successful. I have to pause and think about the number of households that he was able to win as referrals from Quad A, and think that if he was not in seat, who would have taken care of those clients, right? So those types of stories make us extremely excited about the work we do. And that's why we aggressively get out in the community to host professional development, meetups, regional conferences, national events, and even webinars, helping our advisors advance professionally to be able to take care of the clients that so desperately need them, and they so desperately enjoy helping to win, make them become financially independent.
That's great. And I don't think we touched upon this last time. So I always thought of Quad A as an association to help advance advisors. And then also those advisors would happen to serve those underserved communities. But I didn't realize you guys actually built the plumbing, the pipe work to connect those two. That's brilliant, right? So that's getting access to the good quality advisors for those communities. And for those advisors just starting off, especially on those subscription models, you need to get some people in your office to make that work for you. But to create that pipeline to connect the two, that's fantastic. How are you guys structured? So I'm familiar with the FPA, of course. So you have FPA nationals and local meetings and so on and so forth. Share with the audience, if you would, please. How are you guys organized in that sense, from that fashion?
Sure. Before I answer that question, I want to just touch on the way we connect advisors and households, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Today we've aggregated about 21,000 families that have reached out to us to ask us to connect them to an advisor anywhere from 0 to 300 miles of their zip code. Now, we don't necessarily drive who the client selects, but we do give at least 3 options for the client to choose, for prospect to choose, and then connect with the advisor. We're not perfect, and we are definitely making strides to make the plumbing, right, as we call it, a lot better. When we talk about, moving, I would say, Quad A into the future, what we would really like to do is have sort of a more fluid, I would say, coalesced approach of connecting households, right, to advisors and surveying to make sure connectivity was accomplished and that the client's needs were met. And so that's what we think future state we can be with the, I would say, connectivity that we work out. On average, we have about 562 households that reach out to us every month asking to be connected to a Black or African American financial advisor. And, when, as I mentioned at the top of the conversation, when LeCount Davis had the idea, we were a regional organization. And so we are, I would say, top heavy, right? We've got a board of directors, we've got committees that work together. Unlike the FPA, we do not have chapters. We are more like the Financial Services Institute, led by a good friend of mine, Dale Brown, where we've got a board of directors and we've got seats filled by many of our sponsoring partners representing different lines of business. And we have a staff team right now of about 5 or 6 full-time employees and contractors that do the work of getting messages out to our community, whether it be licensed advisors or early stage career changers, about the opportunities available in the wealth management sector for employment.
That is just a fantastic opportunity. And the numbers that you're throwing around, 500 inquiries. Did you say 20,000 that have already been connected? Did I hear that right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, and that's an impressive number. So, it makes me think of those services like Smart Asset and those others that kind of send you those leads, and some are good, some are not necessarily good. Who knows? But those are, by any metric that you have, I think that's fantastic. What a wonderful resource, again, for the community, but also for those advisors. Do you have any plans to expand into more of a chapter format, or do you guys like the way it's set up right now and feel that it's working?
We set out a strategic operating plan when I became chairman of the board a couple of years ago. And in that plan, we outlined how we will expand the organization in terms of reach to more advisors and more deeper reach into our communities. In that plan, I don't believe at this moment that we had, I would say, thoughts of moving into chapters. What we wanted to do was really understand our client base, what they need from us, and design programs that can meet them where they are. And then from there, perhaps our next 36-month strategy plan will be exploring chapters or I would say other strategies to go deeper into our community. We just launched the Women Impact Initiative Network, WIN. That is a test program or pilot program that we're leveraging to see if we can use networks versus, I would say, chapters, right, to really penetrate the heart of our advice planning business and connect with, I would say, an amazing group of planners that generally kind of get overlooked, i.e. women.
Right. So would those be women of any background, or would that still just women in general then?
Women in general, yes.
That one. That's also, again, a hugely underserved community within our advisor space. So, look, I've been doing a lot of work now with Investment News. We're always looking for speakers, and it's hard finding speakers sometimes because there's just not as many percentage-wise, and it's an incredible disparity. So I think that's also really wonderful work. Would that be kind of folded under Quad A, or would that be a separate enterprise or a separate entity? Do you see it?
So great question. It's folded under Quad A. And in our strategic operating plan, talking about how we go deeper with every demographic in our member base, we decided to launch networks, not chapters, to gauge the effectiveness of it. I would say So far, we have about 11 to 13 dynamic executives on the WIN task force who are planning out our regional conference for women in June in Chicago. And I am just blown away by the expertise, the passion, and the dedication they have to lift up other women in the industry that are doing amazing things. So we are in a test pilot case or phase with this, but I would say the momentum that it has received has really got us thinking at an executive level that perhaps networks are the way to advance the organization forward versus chapters. In our communities, there's nothing definitive yet, but we're still collecting data, surveying other organizations that have chapters and no chapters to see what works, just so that we can make the right decision.
Fantastic. Well, that kind of brings us to time, although we could talk about this quite a bit longer, but it's always great checking in with you, Christian. Definitely have you back again soon, especially as that win develops, because we love to keep track of that as well. And of course, I'll see you in 2 months, give or take, April 16th, New York City for RIA Connect. It's going to be a great event. Christian will be there. I will be there. Joe Duran will be there. A lot of very big names will be there and a lot of great content. So if you are going to go RIA, or this particular RIA conference will be for you. So Christian Nwasike, Quad A, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Chuck. It was a pleasure.
Always a pleasure seeing you. We'll see you in a couple of months. And for those of you in the audience, I will see you this time next week. And on behalf of goRIA, fueled by investment news, I'm Chuck Vela. And we'll see you.